What's up, guys? Um, Back to making some videos. Today we're going to look at a Highlander priest deck that I've been playing this season, and I am now rank 5. I've played maybe a total of 3 hours with the deck, and I am now rank 5, and I think I have amassed a win rate of 19-5. Right? I was 17-3, and I ended up at 19-5 when I eventually did hit rank 5. And I'll show you the build. It was kind of different. And there's 30 cards that we're going to talk about, some of them in detail and some of them not, right? So this deck tech will be relatively quick, and I'm just going to skip over a bunch of the common cards in Highlander Priest, and I'll get to the more tricky cards that we're playing here. So basically, as you know from our other deck tech video, which you can see at the top for Highlander Priest for the Archbishop Benedictus build, there are so many variations of the archetype of this one-of priest, right? Because simply put, there are more than 30 options of cards that you can switch in or switch out depending on your meta or depending on what you want to do. So this build is actually a friend of mine. His name is Construct. He made this deck, and I made just like 1 or 2 small changes to it. And instead of just being a Highlander priest, it also takes advantage of the dragon synergy, right? And this is very good versus Jade, and it's very good in the mirror, or at least it should be, because simply put, you have a stronger mid-range pressure, and you get a lot of value out of things like Draconid Operative, right? So we're going to talk about the list real quick. I know you guys want to get right into it, so let's do it, right? So we're starting off with the Silence. It's just a cheap card, easy activator. This is not core, easily replaceable. Northshire Cleric, this is pretty much core. It's a draw mechanic, and this deck in particular does not have many draw options. Pint-Sized Potion, which works well with cards like Cabal Shadow Priest and Shadow Word Horror. Potion of Madness, which is obviously a pretty good anti-aggro tool in the beginning, but it's also good in the Priest Mirror. Power Word Shield, which is a cheap spell to draw more cards. Blood Mage Thanos, which is another option for draw, as well as spell damage for your Spirit Lash or Holy Nova or whatever, right? Dragonfire Potion. Doomsayer, which is a necessary anti-aggro tool, and I think every control deck should be playing one, even Jade. Loot Hoarder, just another card to draw. Nether Sprite Historian, which is not draw, but it's value. You don't keep this in your mulligan, you mulligan this back. You want this later, so that you can keep a dragon activator for one of your other dragons, or so that you can find a dragon to fit somewhere on your curve, right? It's good value. Shadow Visions is pretty much core. 1 Shadow Word Pain, 1 Spirit Lash, these are just removals. Curious Glimmerroot, now there are different 3-drops that I've tried, and you can see right here I have 4 3-drops. I like Glimmerroot, I like adding value to your hand, and I like the knowledge of what your opponent may or may not be playing. I think that helps a lot, even if you miss with the Glimmerroot, right? Which, in this meta, you're more prone to miss than normal, surprisingly enough. Shadow Word Death, just you need some kind of premium removal. Stonehill Defender. Now, this originally was Cabal Talon Priest, but I found that I was never having a board that was strong enough early that was worth buffing with the Talon Priest. So instead, I went for the more defensive, value-oriented card, right? Stonehill Defender, chump blocks Pirates and aggro druid relatively well, while also helping you smooth out your curve by finding mid-range top. And it also is good in the control matchup because now you're just looking for the endgame value of Obsidian Statue or something, right? And remember, when you play Stonehill Defender, whenever you play a Discover card, you are more prone to roll your class Discover cards that fit it. So because the 2 taunts in Priest are Tortollan, Shellraiser, and Obsidian Statue, you have a pretty good chance of pulling those. So I like Stonehill Defender. Tar Creeper, which is just really strong defensively. I don't really care what the board looks like, because at some point I'm going to clear it. So Tar Creeper really is good, well statted at 3/5 to buy me that time. Kazakis, obviously if you're going to play a one-of deck, Kazakis is probably the best card to play. And I think a lot of people misplay Kazakis by always picking the 10-mana spell. And that should never be the case. I think the 5-mana spell is to me, I almost always pick the 5-mana spell, depending on how the game's curving out. But picking the 1-mana spell can be really big too. So you just really gotta feel the sense of the game, like how you are gonna win the game, and which one of those potions can immediately get you the most value. Right? Priest of the Feast. Now, Priest of the Feast could be Greater Healing Potion, and I think there are arguments for either. I personally like Priest of the Feast, though. I really enjoy what it brings to the table in terms of a threat that needs to be removed. Because versus aggro, if this stays on the board, you're going to negate a lot of the life loss, and they're forced to put in a lot of resources to kill it. 3/6 body is not too shabby. And against the Priest Mirror, it's a strong card. You get this out there, you chain some spells, so you deal damage, negate whatever damage they've dealt with Anduin. It's pretty good. Shadow Word Horror, just this is not core, but I like it. Pint-sized potion makes me want to run this. Twilight Drake, which is the first dragon we get to. It's very good versus Priest, very good versus a lot of mid-range decks. It's got a fat body and works pretty well. Nice 4-drop. Cobalt Scalebane. This is probably the weakest of all the dragons that we have in the list, but I felt like my 5-mana spot was pretty light. This could be anything else, but I really did feel like I needed maybe 5 or 6 dragons. And I kind of feel the need to play this dragon. I needed another dragon, right? And the 5/5 is okay. And if you keep anything on the board, if you stick anything on the board, it's even better. So Cobalt Scalebane is a lot better in like decks that like Zoo, right? So I'm on the fence about how good it is, but when I'm winning, when I have any sort of board and I put Scalebane out there, I'm winning much more after that, right? So that's what I like about him. Draconid Operative, like, I mean, this is probably one of the best priest cards out there, right? And we're just, if we're going to run dragons, we might as well run this. It's very strong. And I don't know why, but for some reason, if my opponents are running the Death Knight, I have a good chance of pulling the Death Knight from Draconid. I've pulled the Warlock Draconid 2 times. I pulled the Rogue one once in one of the 2 Rogue matchups I had. I pulled the Priest one twice. It's pretty crazy. This card is pretty OP, right? Especially like if you get another one from the Nether Sprite Historian, it's nuts. The value out of this card is crazy, and the stats are nuts. 5 for 5/6, strong. Holy Nova, I just felt like I needed more removal. I'm not sure if this is necessary. And Raza, which is of course integral to the deck. You need Raza, and in most mulligans, I'd probably even hold Raza. Bone Drake, which is another dragon activator. It's a good mid-range threat. The body is significant, and it gets you a dragon in your hand. It's pretty nice. Bookworm, this is kind of a weak dragon, to be honest. But I can't complain, because I've always found targets with it. I could see dropping this, though. I don't really like the way my curve is at the end, but it's been working, so I've been playing that. Cabal Shadow Priest, you could probably cut this, but since I'm running Pint-Side Potion, I figure, you know what? Take advantage of Cabal Shadow Priest. It's a strong card. It's always been a good card, and I think in this particular meta, it's a lot better than it's been before. Dragonfire Potion, pretty self-explanatory. Primordial Drake, pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, these are very good in the mirror, and this is what you want to win. And then last but not least, of course, Shadow Reaper Anduin. One thing to keep in mind is, remember, it destroys all minions with 5 or more attack. So if you're winning the board with dragons, you don't necessarily need to play Shadow Reaper Anduin, right? It doesn't need to come out yet, right? I think you'll find one thing about this deck is the matchups it does really well in are like the Mirror and Jade. But for me, on my climb, those were the decks that... Actually, I faced the Mirror a lot. I faced the Mirror quite a bit. I'd say I faced it maybe 6 or 7 times, and I lost 2 or 3 of those. And I'm not too disappointed with how that turned out. And I only faced 2 Jade Druids, and I smashed those 2 Jade Druids. But one thing about the Mirror is, like, yes, this is... You have the advantage, right? Because if your mid-range is so strong, and you're kind of forced them to use a lot of resources. But one of the biggest issues with that is whoever gets Raza Anduin out earliest wins, okay? Whoever gets access to the free hero power is going to win. Okay, they're going to put a lot more pressure than the opponent. So the dragons help. The dragons can offset that. So if you're behind, you still have a chance because your opponent may have to use a lot of resources to kill individual dragons. But yeah, I like this deck. It's pretty strong. To me, for whatever reason, I've got a much better win rate with this than I did with the previous versions of my Kazakus Highlander Priest decks. That said, there's still many different builds and many different things I want to try out. Like, I like having Lyra, I like having Burgly Bully. There's different things that are still available to test, and yeah, we should definitely test them. So stick to, or of course, keep checking in with the channel, and I'll see what new decks we can come up with, right?